You believe you are thinking your thoughts. Right now, as you read this, it feels like there is a central you inside your mind generating each sentence, evaluating it, deciding whether it makes sense. That feeling is powerful. It feels direct and undeniable, but neuroscience suggests something far more unsettling. Thoughts may not be produced by a single central self at all. They may emerge from competing systems inside your brain long before you become aware of them. The sensation of authorship is constructed. It is a conclusion your brain reaches after activity has already begun. Inside your skull, there is no unified command center. There is no single location where the self sits issuing instructions. Instead, there are networks, visual networks, emotional networks, memory networks, predictive networks. Each operates semi-independently, communicating constantly, competing for influence. When one pattern becomes dominant, it rises into awareness. You experience that dominance as a thought, but the thought did not begin in awareness. It began as electrical and chemical activity across distributed regions. By the time you consciously notice it, it has already formed structure. Experiments using brain imaging have revealed something striking. When participants are asked to make a simple choice, such as pressing a button with their left or right hand, researchers can detect predictive neural activity several hundred milliseconds before the participant reports deciding. The brain shows bias toward one option before the person experiences the intention. This does not mean free will is an illusion in a simplistic sense. It means intention is layered. The conscious feeling of deciding is the final stage of a process that began outside awareness. To understand why this happens, you need to understand the brain's primary function. It is not to think abstractly, it is to predict. The brain constantly anticipates what will happen next based on patterns it has learned. Awareness in this model is more like a spotlight than a generator. It illuminates processes that are already underway. This explains why intrusive thoughts feel foreign. Sometimes a pattern surfaces that does not align with your identity or values. You react by saying, "Why would I think that?" The discomfort arises because the thought emerged from subconscious processing, not deliberate intention. The conscious self then distances itself from the output. It also explains creativity. Ideas often appear suddenly after periods of incubation. You struggle consciously with a problem, then give up, then later the solution appears unexpectedly. During the break, subconscious networks continued recombining information. When a coherent configuration formed, it rose into awareness fully shaped. You experienced it as insight. Language reinforces the illusion of centralized control. You say, "I think, therefore I am." But thinking may not be something the self does. It may be something that happens within a system you identify with. The sense of self itself is constructed through integration. Various brain regions synchronize to create continuity of experience. Memory binds past to present. Emotional tone provides consistency. Narrative stitching connects events into a story. This story becomes the identity you defend, but the story is updated constantly. Each new experience modifies it slightly. The self you were 5 years ago does not exist physically in the same neural configuration today. Cells have changed. Connections have strengthened or weakened. Yet continuity feels stable because narrative continuity is maintained. This leads to a profound question. If thoughts emerge before awareness and identity is reconstructed continuously, what exactly is the you experiencing life? One possibility is that the self is not a thing but a process. A process of monitoring, integrating, and narrating. The narrator does not control every event, it interprets them. It creates coherence after the fact. This interpretation function is essential. Without it, experience would feel fragmented. But because it operates so smoothly, it creates the illusion of a central author. Consider how often you change your mind. At one moment you strongly prefer one option. Later, new information shifts your stance. The shift feels like deliberate reconsideration, but underlying networks adjusted weightings based on input. The conscious layer observed the updated output. Emotion often reveals the speed of subconscious processing. You can feel uneasy in a room before identifying why. Your brain detected subtle cues, facial expressions, tone shifts. It processed them faster than conscious analysis. The feeling surfaced first. The explanation came later. This does not diminish human agency. It reframes it. Agency may not mean initiating every thought. It may mean shaping the conditions under which thoughts arise. You influence your inputs, your habits, your environment, your attention. Those influences alter subconscious processing. Over time, the patterns that surface into awareness change. Meditation research offers insight here. When individuals practice observing thoughts without reacting, activity in self-referential networks decreases. They begin to experience thoughts as events occurring in the mind rather than as commands from a central self. This creates psychological distance. The thought still appears, but it carries less authority. Understanding that thoughts emerge rather than being authored can reduce self-judgment. Anxious or negative ideas are not proof of character. They are outputs of a complex predictive machine shaped by experience. You can respond to them without identifying completely with them. There is also humility in this perspective. Much of what you believe to be purely rational may be guided by emotional and subconscious weighting. Recognizing this encourages curiosity rather than certainty. The brain's architecture evolved for survival, not philosophical clarity. Rapid prediction, emotional bias, and pattern recognition ensured adaptation. Conscious awareness evolved later, layered on top, providing reflection and planning. But it did not replace the deeper systems. It collaborates with them. When you sit quietly and attempt to think of nothing, thoughts continue appearing. You do not choose them deliberately. They arise. This simple observation reveals the autonomous nature of cognition. Yet despite this autonomy, experience feels unified. That unity is the brain's most impressive illusion. It integrates countless processes into a single stream. The stream feels continuous and owned. Perhaps the self is not the source of thought, but the space in which thought becomes visible. And perhaps the reason this feels unsettling is because control feels safer than emergence. But consider the alternative. If every thought required deliberate construction, life would be impossibly slow. Automatic emergence allows fluidity, creativity, adaptation. The mystery is not that thoughts arise without permission. The mystery is that from such distributed activity, a sense of I appears at all. And maybe the most honest description is this: you are not the thinker behind every thought. You are the awareness in which thinking happens. And if you are the awareness in which thinking happens, then you are not responsible for every thought that surfaces. You are responsible for what you do with it once it arrives. This is a distinction most people never make. They treat every thought as a direct transmission from their true self. A thought appears and immediately becomes evidence. Evidence of who they are, what they want, what they fear, what they deserve. The anxious thought confirms danger. The self-critical thought confirms inadequacy. The doubtful thought confirms they should stop trying. No investigation, no distance, just instant identification. But if thoughts emerge from competing networks shaped by past experience, stress levels, sleep quality, social environment, and countless other variables, then a thought is not a verdict. It is a signal, and signals require interpretation, not obedience. This changes the entire relationship between you and your inner life. Instead of asking, "Is this thought true?" you can ask, "Where did this thought come from?" Instead of defending it or being destroyed by it, you can hold it at arm's length and examine it. You can ask, what pattern generated this? What past experience is this network drawing from? Is that experience still relevant? Is that prediction still accurate? Or is the brain running an old script in a situation that has genuinely changed? Because here is what the research consistently shows. The brain is not trying to harm you with its outputs. It is trying to protect you using the best model it currently has. But models built in childhood, in trauma, in periods of scarcity or threat, do not automatically update when circumstances improve. They continue generating the same predictions until something interrupts the pattern. You are not broken because difficult thoughts arise. You are human because a system built for survival keeps trying to keep you safe. The work is not silencing the